guys, welcome to another episode of Tiger Dads. I'm Jason Sklar, Tiger Dad A or B.
I'm Beau Bass, Tiger Dad, the other Tiger Dad.
B or A. Look, we're holding microphones like we're golfing Freddie Mercury's. We're here to talk about what it is to be a golf dad, to manage, or a golf parent, really, and to manage your expectations, to manage your kid, and to have the best experience for you and your child. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends about this. If your kid is involved in golf and you're like, what is this journey? What's the best gear I should get? What are pitfalls and mistakes? We always say about this podcast, and we'll repeat it for new listeners and new watchers. We make the mistakes so you don't have to.
And we make a lot of mistakes.
A lot of mistakes. But I do feel like you are further along and you are my golf Sherpa. So we want to be golf Sherpas to you guys as well. And I want to talk today, because we have a great episode today, to let them know who our guest is.
I'm really excited. We have Keilee Bessho, who's the women's coach at Claremont-Mudd-Scripps, a Division III school.
D3 school. So not everyone, we know very limited number of kids after we had the USC head coach on, are going to make D1 top level schools. D3 maybe a little more attainable for kids who are in this world of golf. It's really important to them. They don't want it to end when they're in high school.
We heard from a lot of people. I mean, the episode we had with Justin Silverstein, the USC coach, was fantastic. We learned so much. But his first question was to every player is like, do you want to be a pro? And if the answer is no, it was like, sorry, this is not the right program for you.
So that leaves out a lot of kids who love golf, don't want their golfing experience to end when they are done with high school. They want to keep playing. They want to collegiate.
They want to be student athletes, right?
Yes. So there are D3 schools. We're going to talk about what it is to be at that level later in the show. But I think our topic at the top goes hand in hand a little bit with that, which is, as a parent, you're in charge of scheduling the tournaments. You're in charge, unless your kid is like incredibly forward thinking at like 10 or 11. So if you are in charge of scheduling out the season of tournaments, you could do U.S. kids tournaments, you could do junior golf tournaments with the junior PGA, or you can do CJG for us out here in California, or whatever the equivalent is in your state. How do you manage all those things? And what is too much versus not enough? And that's always a line I never know what to do.
Yeah, because it's really different, right? Because if your kid's playing baseball, there's you're on a club team or you're on a local rec team.
Or both.
Both, right? But like someone else is scheduling everything and you play all the games and go to all the practices that are scheduled. But like, yeah, it's different because
Here's your spring. Yeah,
they
give you the schedule. We are the schedulers. We are everything. And because of that, like when a team and a league says, hey, here's your season. The next 12 weeks, you got games on Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes you'll have 3 games on a Saturday if you win it. I remember when I played Little League Baseball, if you came up through the loser's bracket of a tournament, you could lose game 1 at 8 a.m. and then you have a 10 a.m. game, a 1 p.m. game, a 3 p.m. game, a 5 p.m. game. And if you make the finals of the tournament, you're playing at 8 p.m. You're at the ballpark all day. We happen to love that at 10, 11, 12 years old. But if your kid is prone to burnout and we're the ones scheduling, then you get blamed if you schedule too many tournaments.
Yeah, and it's tricky because it's how many do we schedule?
Yes.
We keep hearing that to get better, you need reps, like tournament reps matter, which I don't know, my experience, they do, but it's like, yeah, how many do we play? What's enough? What's too many?
Right. You're like, more reps. Oh my God, I burned out my kid and I broke my kid.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll give you my experience and sort of like what's worked for us.
Yes.
We actually try to take, and I'll sort of go look at it like the whole year. We try to actually take most of the winter off. And we can play we're in Southern California. We can play 365.
Yeah.
Like the local PGA, like it's pouring rain, they're still playing. They're collecting their checks no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. So you can play all year round, but we try to basically take
what months?
Winter off. So
December till
basically
March?
November, December into January. We won't play any tournaments. We'll still play golf, but we'll just take a break from tournaments because I can always kind of tell. Like my daughter loves tournaments. You've seen her out there. She loves to go compete. She does. She loves seeing all her friends out there.
It is a social thing for her too.
Super social. And then summer and fall. Like summer, there's just a ton of tournaments, right? Because
we've
got
all
like
three
national
are gearing
stuff,
up.
and we're traveling for things.
Yeah.
And then so we're playing a ton in the summer. Then you get into fall, and you've got like the fall season. And I can always tell that she starts kind of like, hey, what are we playing this weekend? And you start asking questions of like, what do I have to do this weekend?
Right.
And you can tell she starts getting tired. So that's usually why we take the winter off, play for fun, have a good time. So you've got to build a forced break in there, to me.
You have to, and I think you're totally right. And for me, I'll get the questions of, I already have a tournament this weekend. I have one on Sunday. If I have one on Saturday and Sunday, then I can't have someone sleep over at the house on Friday night because we got to get up early and they got to leave and it's not going to be fun and everyone's going to be mad if we stay up late. I'm like, yeah, I don't want you to not be a kid anymore. So but I do think on some level, if we're only playing one tournament a week, then it is kind of, she is losing half the reps. And also, though, on the other side is we've played 2 tournaments in a weekend, and she's had a great turn on Saturday, and on Sunday she's like, I don't want to do this.
Okay, so you know what okay, and again, this is all relative. So like, this is the year for us that like it's a big year of development for Emmy. So we're like, we actually together we talked about it. We're like, okay, we're cranking the reps. But what we have sort of scheduled is we're doing 1 2-day a month.
Okay.
We're doing 2 1-days, and we're taking 1 weekend off. Great. So we get 4 rounds a month, but she still has a weekend off. And the other thing that I've stopped stressing about, because we've had all these pros and coaches on, and they're like, none of these tournaments matter, right? So if you start with that mindset, and that's what we're trying to do this year, it's like none of these matter, because you want to let them be a kid. Emmy will be like, hey, I've got a bat mitzvah to go to, or I've got a party, or I got a sleepover on Friday, but I have a tournament Saturday, and I'm like, Emmy, go to the party. Go to the sleepover.
Don't blame the Jews if you don't do well. Because everyone likes to blame the Jews right now.
Let's call it a quinceañera, whatever it is, whoever we're blaming. But I basically am like, look, if you're tired the next day and you don't play great, that's fine.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
But you're not saying we're not playing.
No, we're playing, but it's just like...
Take your expectations off of it.
Yeah, it's like this individual single tournament doesn't matter. And you know what's interesting is it's because I've now given her the agency. They're like, hey, go to the party. Let's not worry about it. But we're still playing. She wants to play, but there have been a couple of times where she's like, I want to play well tomorrow. I'm going to skip that party. But it's totally her decision versus me saying, you can't go to that party. We have a tournament tomorrow. So that's been working for us.
You have to trick your kids into thinking they're making the right decisions and not you.
Yeah.
You have but in some ways they are.
She's old enough now that's the right decision for her.
Yeah.
And she'll pick and choose. She'll be like, well, you know, I've been invited to this girl's party, but I'm like, I don't really care about her. So I'm going to skip that one. But like, I really want to go to Noah's party. I'm going to.
Right. Or we'll go until 9 or 8:30. I'm not going to go until 10:30. I'll go till 8:30 and I'm come home and I'll go to sleep when I normally would have gone to sleep. It doesn't mean you don't have to partake. But again, you're giving them and by taking the expectations off, then you can get the reps, which are the most important thing. The expectations are really the thing. If you're going to dial back anything, this is what I'm gleaning from what you're saying. If you're going to dial back anything in terms of tournaments and stuff, it should be expectations on results and still play as many tournaments as your kid feels comfortable playing. Go to the max of that.
I'm inside. I'm like, I care about the results. And she does too, but I'm trying to not let her know how much I care.
Sure, but I mean...
it's not even that I care. But I do care, but it's...
Well, you go out there, you're walking around. You don't go out to watch your kid, like, throw it in the tank.
No, but we're tempering the expectations of individual tournaments. Like, as long as we're seeing continued growth and development and progress in her game, which we've seen a lot over the last year, I'm less stressed about the individual tournaments.
You know what's so crazy? I'm just going to say this and then we'll take a break and get to our incredible guest. I've heard professional golfers talk about, like, I was putting really well. All my putts were great putts. They just weren't dropping. And they're not mad. Like, they don't come off the court or I played great, but someone just was playing out of their mind and there was no way I was going to catch this person today. And that's just golf. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you have a good day for yourself and then someone's playing out of their mind and they just win, or 3 people are and you don't get a medal or whatever. But like, focusing on your own individual development. Well, how did you do? Did you do better on your short game today than you've been doing the last few months? Then who cares? You didn't win, but you didn't even come close. But like, who cares? You made that leap forward in what you're doing. So I think it's that's sort of the general thing when scheduling and planning for your kids, is to go to the sort of max of what they feel comfortable with and what's not going to burn them out. And then to remove expectations or focus on their game, how it's improving throughout.
Yeah. And it's, as they get older, I think giving them more agency in terms of like decision making about what tournaments do you want to play in. I mean, again, if it's an example, this summer we've played in like the world championships every year. And this year Emmy's like, yeah, I don't care about wasting the energy to qualify. It's not that fun of a tournament. It's kind of a grind. And there's another tournament that she wants to play that's like the week before.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, let's do that one. So it's letting them pick and choose a little bit. And then, managing the expectations of like the individual, like how much they matter. But yeah, I think it's just, you got to do what's right for you, your family, your kid. And program breaks in though.
And most importantly, don't blame the Jews. All right, we'll be back with an incredible guest on this show. I can't wait. We're going to talk about D3 golf and just kind of hear about maybe a different perspective on what it means to continue your golfing career past the high school level and as you get older. You don't want it to end. You want to keep going and keep having the competition.
So many questions.
So many questions. All right, stick around. Tiger Dads, we'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We have a tremendous guest. I always let Beau introduce because he always knows how to do it better than me.
I'm excited. Keilee Bessho from Claremont-McKenna's golf team. Thank you so much for joining us. This is great. Like, I can't wait to get into your background and kind of hear a little bit how you sort of ended up in this chair. But I know you're from Southern California, local here now, like Los Angeles area. So welcome to Tiger Dads.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's great to have you here. And right before we jumped on with the cameras, you started to tell us about your pathway to golf. And I love it because this may take the pressure off of people who are like, I got to start my kid at 3 years old and they have to start swinging for 2 hours every day. Let them know where you came from and how you got to it.
Actually, this is great because, you refer to me as your golf Sherpa.
Yes.
My golf Sherpa, my friend Lionel, shout out Lionel, thanks buddy, introduced us, and he's going through it right now because I know he's so stressed about his daughter, who's a fantastic player. And that's the same thing. He's like, oh, we're so late. She's like a young freshman. And he's like, oh, we shouldn't have pushed her up. We should have held her back. And he's feeling all this pressure of like, are we starting late? You and I were just talking about like, oh.
My kid started 3 years after his kid.
Yeah. Like, oh, Noah started late. And like, and so you tell us, because I want to like reassure people that it's never too late
to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I am a local kid from La Cañada, Flint Ridge, California. I played basketball since I was 6 or 7 years old up until high school. But when I was a freshman in high school, my coaches set me aside. I really wanted to play a college sport. They were kind of like, hey, real talk, you're not going to be a 5'4" power forward in college. No. So we really decided to pivot. I had grown up playing a little bit of golf. Both my parents played. And so I started taking it a little bit more seriously. There were a lot of college opportunities in golf. And so I started playing tournaments my sophomore, second semester, which was quite late compared to a lot of my peers. Honestly, a lot of my peers already had D1 offers at that time or were talking to Division I schools.
Wow.
And so, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to see where I can go from here. I ended up playing well enough. I had a lot of athletic ability, and so I hit the ball pretty far. So I signed with a Division II school in Utah called Dixie State University. It's now been renamed to Utah Tech. I got there. I enjoyed the golf aspect, but I'm an Asian American kid, and being in Utah was a little bit of a culture shock. So I ended up coming back. I transferred to Cal State Northridge, which was a dream come true to play Division I golf.
Oh my gosh.
I ended up being there for a semester and just got super burnt out because the D1 model is so intense on your body, on your mental health, on your academics.
Wait, can you get into that for a second? Is it because it's just nonstop working out, nonstop reps? Is there any time for school or friends?
So, I would Monday through Friday, we would have something. Monday, Wednesday, Friday were lifts at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Great time for a college kid to go do something.
6 to 7 lift. I'd go straight to class 8 to 12, practice 1 to 4, come back to campus for study hall 5 to 7. And then I was commuting at the time from La Cañada to Northridge. So I was also driving back and forth, and we were doing that pretty much Monday through Friday. Love Gina Umek at CSUN and all of the CSUN programs and everything, but it was just not a fit for me. So I ended up transferring to an NAIA school in Fullerton called Hope International, which NAIA is a little crazy because the rules are very different from the NCAA. I really got to have the flexibility and got to compete at a high level. I was the best player on that team, and so I really got to learn kind of how to win, how to play well, how to play with pressure in circumstances that I hadn't played before. And I had a very successful year. But at the end of the year, I got an email from the University of Redlands coach, Division III school, also in Southern California. And he said, hey, come on out. We're trying to rebuild here. And, I had transferred 3 times already. Why not a fourth? Why not to a fourth
see
school?
every possible.
Yes.
Exactly. So then I went to the University of Redlands. I saw their practice facilities. They practice at Redlands Country Club, which is an Alistair McKenzie course. They have a short game facility that was designed by Dave Stockton. And then they also play the Morongo Tuckwit courses and Oak Valley, which is just the
Gorgeous courses on the way out to Palm Springs.
Unbelievable practice setup. And like my scores dropped significantly just practicing there. And got to play there, competed at a high level. Division III was the perfect balance because I got to set my own schedule.
How does that, like they sort of said to you, look, you practice as much as you can, or did they say you need 10 hours here this week, you got to go do it, you figure it out?
So it was super low key at Redlands. We kind of had about 2 to 3 hours of practice Monday through Friday, which was either 9 holes or range or any sort of practice setup like that. But our classes would be in the morning, and if we wanted to put in more time, we could. The thing about Redlands is that you have the flexibility to play 18 holes every single day if you want to. And so when the team that I was on, we played every day because we just loved it, and academics were important but weren't as demanding as some other universities. And so we really just wanted to get as good of a golf experience as possible. We like to say Redlands is a golf school. And so, I finished there, was an All-American, academic accolades, and just got to have the full academic and athletic experience there.
Amazing. I mean, this, in so many ways, now you're a coach of a D3. So are you applying some of the things that you felt like were the positives that you took away when you were there from your being at every level experience? Like, can you pull a little something out of D1, grab something from D2 and make that part of your program?
Absolutely. I would say my coaching style has been formed by the things that I liked and didn't like from a lot of my different coaches. So, I'd say the flexibility that we had at Redlands was super important. Sort of the scaffolding for emailing professors that I learned at the CSUN was really important. At Dixie State, Utah Tech, utilizing a lot of different courses, maintaining connections, and having a lot of different places to practice was really awesome. And at Hope, I think just giving the students the opportunity to go find their communities on campus, which is something that I'm not sure a lot of Division I athletes have the time to do, just because the schedules are so demanding and you're with your team 20 hours out of the week, if not more, with your individual practice. Whereas a lot of my girls, they're in different clubs on campus. One of our juniors is the SAC president, the Student Athletic Advisory Council. She
awesome.
serves on National SAC. We've got student athletes in Graphite, which is it's an investment club. We have students that go abroad. I have one student in Australia right now.
Wow.
I mean, they just get to have a completely different experience, and golf is still very important to them.
Yeah, because it's interesting. When I look for like my daughter, I'm like, I want her. People are always like, you see these little girls and they're playing with like, oh, she's gonna be an LPGA pro. I'm like, that's not really what I want for her. I mean, she wants that. That's her decision. But like to hear you can actually be a student and an athlete, I think is really important. And it sort of makes me think, I I was joking with a friend of mine whose daughter played at a D3 school, won national championship, was a captain of the team. And I was talking to him and I was sort of like, oh, hey, you know, I'm hoping my daughter can get into like a D1 school here locally in Southern California. Even she can be like number 8, you know? And he's like, he actually cautioned me, and maybe you can sort of speak to this experience. He's like, my daughter had opportunities to play at some D1 schools, chose to play at a D3 school that she loved, got to be a student athlete, got to compete at a high level without the pressures. And she said that some of her friends who went to D1 schools as like the 7th or 8th player were miserable because they were training all day, every day, and then never even got to go play. You know, so he's like, he sort of reframed my perspective of like, you know, what a successful golf
college
experience is.
Yeah. So when I was at CSUN, one of the cool things I experienced was that I was the 6, 7, 8-ish ranged player. I was a walk-on, and it was really stressful to try to break into the lineup. And then once you're in the lineup, it's a lot of stress staying in the lineup.
Yeah.
In addition to balancing the schedule, in addition to balancing academics. And it puts a level of pressure that doesn't get players to play their best golf because they're just so nervous about securing their position on the team.
Right.
A lot of my players currently, I was recruiting against UCI, Cal State Fullerton, Georgetown, in addition to some of the lower level Ivies. They all could have competed at that level, but they chose to stay local in Southern California. They chose to have the sunshine. They chose to kind of have an academic experience. And our schedule is much, much, much lighter than a lot of the Division I schedules, just because our academics are so demanding that, you know, we try to be very intentional about our practice. So a good friend of mine played for a D1 school, and he said that, you know, he was one of the more intentional practicers, meaning if he only had 90 minutes, he was going to make the most of that 90 minutes.
Yeah.
As opposed to some of the guys who would just be range warriors spending hours at the range. And so being very intentional about, okay, like, you know, my wedges weren't very good from 60 to 70, so I'm going to work on those numbers with the TrackMan. Okay, after that, you know, thinking about putting, like lag putting needs a little bit of work. And then I'm going to work on some longer range chipping where I'm going to have the ball stop a quarter of the way and then run out 3/4. So like being very
specific.
Yeah, very,
directives.
very specific and intentional, and working on very specific things, but maximizing the minimal time that they have and then being very confident that that's the time that's going to help them get to the next level. Whereas the players that are going just to beat balls are not getting the same quality of practice. So we prioritize quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 2 morning practices, usually 90-ish minutes, and then we'll play 18 on Friday, and then we'll play a 9-hole executive course or a par 3 course to really work on wedges. Because at the Division III level, we pay 5,600 yards, which is shorter than most junior tournaments. And so if your driver's in order, you're hitting wedges, short irons all day. And so par 3 courses really help.
That actually surprises me that you play so short.
It's
because it's like Emmy's playing, the 11-14's playing 5,600 yards.
Yeah.
So I love hearing about the intentionality of the practice, because we're starting to do that now. Because the same thing, like my daughter's in 7th grade, she's at a very academically rigorous school. Like your daughter's about to be at that school too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have limited time. So we are trying to focus on like, hey, what do we actually need work on? Looking at tournaments and saying, okay, we have a lot of wedges. We got a lot of 50, 60-yard wedges. So we're working on a lot of like 60, 70. Emmy's going to love all the 6-7s we're dropping in this episode. So we try to be, so it's cool to hear, because we don't have time to just be at the range 3 hours a day. Like just a kid, just a student, trying to balance that.
I love that. And I love that you are thinking about their whole life, the whole kid. I do think I'm not trying to Division I. If your kid is ready to play Division I and wants that and really is like singularly focused on that, then I think it's perfect for them. But for a kid who's like, I want it to be a part of my life and a big part of my life, but not all my life, sounds like this is it. I want to, you touch briefly on recruiting and how you look out there in the world for players. I know that we would both love to hear, because for my kid, I'm thinking, this is a goal, maybe not attainable, but to look ultimately at D3 schools and see if there's a place for her somewhere there. So how do you find the kids, and how do you, connect with kids on the recruiting trail?
So I'll first say that about the Claremont colleges in general, they're very expensive.
Yes.
They are $85,000 to $90,000 a year, and there's financial aid and there's a few scholarships here or there, but they're very expensive. And so I don't tend to go out and seek players as actively as I had in the past at some other institutions, just because I want prospective student athletes to come to me and say, hey, this is something that I want. This is the sort of school that I want. And we are aware of how expensive it is. And so I mostly just take in emails, take in social media DMs, take in all of that sort of data. I'll look at some scoring average, some tournaments. We are really looking for players shooting 76 or better in regional tournaments 2 or 3 days, Toyota Tour Cups, AJGAs, things like that. And that is for the players that we're trying to bring in. We usually bring in between 2 and 4 players a year. And it's a little different because, so I pull from 3 different colleges. So I pull from Claremont-McKenna College, Harvey-Mudd College, and Scripps College. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of an odd situation. If anyone's unfamiliar with the Claremont Colleges Consortium, there are 5 colleges on
Pitzer, Pomona,
yes.
Scripps, Harvey-Mudd, and you.
Yeah, and Claremont-McKenna. So
Claremont-McKenna.
We are Claremont-Mudd-Scripps, and then Pomona-Pitzer makes up a different athletic department. And so usually I'll just wait for emails for interest from the sophomores and junior girls, and then I will track them and communicate with them about how their tournaments are going, what went well, what didn't go well in your tournaments, kind of how are you looking to improve. And then once I have a list of players that show interest, I then go out and I try to watch them and try to kind of see how they're interacting with their parents, what are they looking like after a bad shot, kind of what their body language is, how are they interacting with their playing competitors. Is that a player I would want to be walking with coaching? That's a big marker for me, seeing kind of how they react. Am I going to feel uncomfortable because they're throwing a tantrum? Or am I going to think like, hey, we're going to talk about our next shot. We're going to be receptive. We're going to stay positive and have good body language, kind of moving forward. So when you're looking at, okay, this is fascinating. So you're looking at, picking from the pool, or sophomores, juniors reaching out to you who obviously are familiar with the school. Are you sorting them by like their junior golf scoreboard ranking first, or like what is the first thing? Like, how do you sort that batch? So the first thing I do is look at the tournaments they're playing and kind of where their averages are. I'll sometimes cross-reference with junior golf scoreboard and Tugger just to kind of like gauge where they're at from those rankings. I don't take rankings too seriously just because I know there's a host of factors and financial situations will impact the sort of tournaments players can play sometimes. But if players are playing regional tournaments of 2 or 3 rounds, then once they have that baseline, and then once they hit the kind of score baseline that I'm looking for at certain yardages and things like that, then I'll start moving forward in conversations. That's actually fascinating that you mentioned, like the one thing that struck to me is that you're actually taking into consideration that like these tournaments are a financial burden. Mm-hmm. And like, we're like trying to schedule, we were talking about scheduling tournaments, and it's like, it's expensive. And I know not everyone has the means to basically, we've been fortunate. We've traveled to some tournaments and we're kind of cherry picking like, oh, we want to go play Gamble Sands this summer. Like, so we're going to go play in the Washington State because it's like a cool course. But, even locally in Southern California, it adds up. Like, it adds up, and it's also who has time to take your kids. So like my job, I travel, I'm a comedian, I'm on the road like a couple weekends a month or 1 weekend a month. And the weekend I may be on the road might be the weekend that we were supposed to have a tournament somewhere, and my wife is not, we can't really take her to these places. I can. So like it ends up causing some scheduling problems for some people. I understand that. So I'm glad to hear that you do, like, if someone's reaching out to you and kind of within that realm, it's nice to hear that like you do take into consideration all the factors. Okay. So
sort of the next leading. I'm trying my brain's not braining this morning.
It's all right. You're good.
But like, so now you've got a pool of players you're looking at. Looking at their body language, looking at how they're they're obviously their scores, and then sort of how they react. You mentioned like, so that those schools are expensive. Are there, like, I know with Justin, we talked about NIL, and they obviously have a fund. It's a much bigger school. It's a big sports program. Are there scholarships for players at a D3 level? Are there like merit-based scholarships? Like what options are there for a student who's like, I want to go to the school, I qualify, I'm a great kid. You're like, oh, this kid's great. She's, got a great attitude. She's, putting up good scores, like, but maybe can't afford $90,000 a year.
Yeah. So there are definitely scholarships at all of the Division III schools, merit-based. At the Claremont colleges, we tend to meet need. So what the financial aid office will do is they'll kind of assess through the FAFSA, which is a form that parents will fill out using their tax documents. And the school will determine how much the family can realistically pay. Now, what that looks like versus what families think they should realistically pay is going to differ drastically. Sure. But from the college level, they'll kind of make a number that they think would be reasonable for parents to pay, and then the college will meet that need. And so then that will all be determined by our financial aid office. So while $90,000 does sound quite like a lot, most students don't pay that whole $90,000.
Right. They'll. I know from my brother whose kids are in school and filled out the FAFSA forms, it's like instantly like that fee goes down to probably more reasonable of what colleges are. Still expensive, still a big deal, and it's not a full ride. So you're saying there aren't really full rides for student athletes at D3 schools. They tend not to be.
But there are some institutions that do provide academic full rides,
which is awesome.
And those opportunities are all around the U.S. I mean, there's so many Division III schools that are just begging for kids, and different academic tiers, different religious affiliations. There's just so many Division III schools that people tend to not think about because they're looking for the scholarships at Division I and Division II athletically. But academically, if you have an idea of where your budget is at and kind of are willing to move or willing to try a different school that nobody's ever heard of, then definitely there are schools out there that can kind
Dixie
of
State.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and also, and this I'm assuming you have a good team that competes because you're a competitive person and a great coach. I wonder if there are other, as a prospective student is looking, should they look at schools where the golf program is maybe emerging or maybe not like a perennial like national champion, as opposed to if you have a child that's maybe not the top tier but still interested in playing college golf? Yes.
Real quick, I do want to say that I forgot to mention the most important part about my recruiting process is that I have to look at the transcripts because of how academically rigorous our schools are.
Sure.
And so I'm looking at kind of all of the classes that the prospective student is taking, and also I have to make sure that they have mostly A's, couple B's here or there. And that's the number one for a lot of the elite Division III institutions, is looking at that transcript and making sure these students are admissible on their own. But then back to your question, kind of about, I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
I was just saying, no, that's a great point though. So, and again, also important to balance your child and make sure they do well in school, because doing well in school can lead to merit-based scholarships and also acceptance and put you in a smaller pool of like, okay, athletes who qualify grade-wise. Right. So now you've cleared some of these athletes who can't do that. So that's a great point. My question was, as we're looking at programs, if your child is good at golf or emerging, but maybe not at the most elite tier, should we look at programs, or they look at programs that are also emerging programs, not perennial all-star, perennial national championship contenders? Absolutely.
So at the Division III level, there's a couple of programs that tend to be perennially in the top 10. Emory, Williams, WashU St. Louis, Carnegie Mellon, Claremont-Mudd-Scripps, Pomona-Pitzer, all of those programs. They're all very challenging academically. A lot of our athletes can play at the Division I level, mid-major, if not some Power 5, the top players.
Wow.
But there's a lot of other Division III schools out there. I mean, in our local conference, the Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, we have the University of Redlands, we have Occidental College, we have Cal Lutheran, we have University of Laverne and Chapman University. These are all great programs where you can be a player that, you know, shoots between 76 and 80 and be their number one and get to play and travel in every tournament that they play in. UC Santa Cruz, they have such an awesome setup. They get to play Pasatiempo Golf Club every week. And there's some other programs, if you're willing to leave California.
Sure.
There are some great programs on the East Coast. You know, you've got Babson, you've got your Bowdens, you've got your Methodist. If you're a student athlete, if your child wants to stay in the golf industry, there are these professional golf management bachelor's programs. So like Methodist has a PGM program where when they graduate, they finish with a Class A PGA professional licensing or accreditation. So they can go be a head pro anywhere in the U.S. after their degree, in addition to getting a BA, I believe.
Incredible.
But these are all, and your classes are about like the types of grass and club fitting and merchandising. And that's sort of what those athletes get to kind of study. And, you know, I think thinking about kind of what your athlete wants to do long term, of course, I don't want there to be any expectation that kids should know what they want to do at 16, 17.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
I knew what I wanted to do at 16, 17, but I was the like exception to the rule. And so I understand that. And I think that's smart. And also, you know, golf being just I think playing a college sport and pushing yourself at that level is impressive no matter what you go into, even if it's not the golf industry. If you're applying for a job at a corporate job, you know, in finance, even if you're sitting down for your interview and they say, wow, it says you played college golf. Tell me about that. Talk about adversity, talk about digging deep, talk about picking yourself up after a failure and having success. Like you talk about those moments in an interview and you're already separating yourself as a person. I think that is part of the reason why, you know, both of us are drawn to it for our kids, because we've watched them. And that's a lot of what this podcast is about. Like, how do we make mistakes and come back from those mistakes? And to me, that's golf. Of all the sports, it is the one sport where like every choice, every decision, everything is yours. So that means you make 76 of those decisions on a good round. And at least 10 of those are going to be bad. So how do we make the other 66 count? Or how do you come back from a bad one to a good one? And I think that teaches you everything about life. That's just me.
What I'm really liking you talking about all the other options, because I think so many people, and we talk with other parents, and it's like, I remember a year or 2 years ago, I was talking to a dad and he's like, oh yeah, no, my daughter, we're trying to get to Stanford. She wants to play at Stanford. And I'm like, bro,
good luck.
I hate to break this to you. Your daughter's not playing at Stanford. You know, because you start doing the math, like, oh, they have 1 or 2 spots. And like, those are like, they're taking
Stanford Community College.
Stanford, Connecticut. 1 or 2 of the best players in the world, right? They've got international players come in, and I'm like, your kid who's coming in like 3rd and 4th in U.S. kids events is not playing at Stanford. But parents have this, like, so many parents that we talk to have this like expectation, like, oh, we're trying for like Stanford or USC. And it's like, there's so many amazing options where students can actually be athletes. But the guy I was talking about, his daughter played at Williams, right? And he was like, she was so happy there, playing at a super high level, competing for national championships. Yeah. And still got to be a student and like live life, and, you know, and just, there are other options out there. So kids it's not a failure if they don't play at Stanford.
It's not. And of course it's like, to play is really also the most important thing. I mean, I love that you like, even in your own journey as a player, you're like, okay, now I'm the leader on this team. Now they're looking at me to carry this team with a good score in this tournament. Very different from, ooh, I hope I stay in the starting 4.
Right.
I'm just on the edge and I'm in and out. And then the pressure's different, pressure in both cases, but it feels better to be like, oh, my teammates are counting on me in this scenario. All right, I'm going to ask you straight up, any advice you have for kids who are 10, 11, 12, 13, really, really starting to ramp it up, really feeling like, you know, maybe they're coming up from the bottom and they're at different levels, not quite at Toyota or the other, or the higher level than that. But like, what should they be focusing on in these years, in your opinion, to help them move forward? Or how do you feel like as parents we can guide them through that and not burn them out?
I think for 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, the most important thing is to start building the relationship with golf that they're going to have for the rest of their lives. And that sounds really like, I don't know, my brain's not braining. I think something that I've seen a lot of in this industry is players wanting to be professional golfers, wanting to be the best junior golfers, and burning themselves out. And, comparing themselves to, the best players. I mean, I did it when I was younger. Beth Wu was one of the best players, and I wasn't even close to her, but I was just looking around like, gosh, like, I wish I was her. Like, I just need to, like, put in the work to be like her. And, I wasn't the smartest. I overdid it. I burned myself out. And, once I finished college, I was so tired of just grinding every single day. And, my relationship to golf had gotten to this place where it wasn't fun anymore. And I think it took about 5 years of just like not really playing. I was still coaching at the time, and I was still helping players kind of, in their crisis moments on the course, or like academically emailing professors, things like that, learning communication skills. But I didn't come back to golf until I was, very recently, where I got to spend, my dad is getting older, and getting to play with him is one of the best memories of my junior golf, college golf experience. And like, I think as I've gotten older, I start to realize like, oh, I'm not spending as much time with my parents. I'm an adult, but I can still go and play 18 holes with my dad. And that is a memory, like that is something that I don't know if a lot of adults kind of can spend that kind of time with their parents in the same way. And so this seems really divorced from 10 to 11 and 12-year-olds, but
no, but it's making a
I'm
good
like
point.
tearing up, because it's like, that's my goal, is that like, I want my daughter, and we've talked about this, like I want my daughter, I know I'm going to lose her in a few years to go off to college and but when she comes back, I want to know that I can go and have those 4 hours on the golf course with her, and even if I have to like try to like leverage it, like, hey, I'm going to get us on Riviera this weekend, like come back and play, what I mean? Whatever it is. But
but you're right. I think there's like a small sliver of top level players who like, their goal is to keep improving, play at D1, be competitive, then go into the professional ranks and try to make it onto the LPGA and make a living out of it. That is a tiny, tiny sliver. For the rest of us and the rest of those kids, it's how can you go through this process, get the most out of it, and then still have a love of golf at the end.
Right.
Because if you don't, then that is a huge bummer, because you actually have a beautiful skill and talent and a game that you can play for the rest of your life.
And you put in all this time only to like
throw it and toss it.
Like, I hate this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be so surprised at how many golfers come away from college golf just not picking up the clubs.
Yeah.
Just because, like they're not going to be at the same level as they were when they were practicing every day, or, they had an experience with a coach, or they had an experience with a teammate that just put them in a negative headspace, and they just decided to hang the clubs up. And it's just heartbreaking. And so, like, my philosophy of coaching and kind of guiding parents and things like that is, how do we build the skills, build the relationship to golf where it's this long-term thing, which looks like, playing with your parents when you're younger. And, I think they say that the sports, the activities that kids enjoy the most are the ones that they can do with their parents. And so golf is one of those sports that you can do with your parents until the end.
80s, 90s, yes.
And, it's super awesome that, I fell into this sport just because of college opportunities. But I'm so grateful for the time I spent with my dad and my mom playing golf. And now as an adult, I cherish that time just because it's so important. And, when they're 10, 11, 12, winning the tournament it's not that important. It's more important that, they remember, oh yeah, right after the tournament, we were in Washington and we went to this really awesome restaurant.
This is
Or,
what he says all the time.
or you know,
Yes.
I made a lot of friends on the course that I'm going to have forever.
Right.
You know, we might not be teammates, but like I'll see them in competitions, and building relationships that way and being a part of the golf community in a way that's not only focused on winning and isolating yourself from all the other parents. Like, you just want to build community, build relationships. I think that's the most important thing.
My daughter has a golf group chat of girls that she's met at Worlds and like Pinehurst and San Diego, and they're girls in 4 countries outside of the U.S. on that chat.
Amazing.
And they're on it and communicating, and like she's been friends with these girls since she was the first girls we met when she was 9. And so it's like, it's amazing to me that they have the ability to stay in touch and like build that community. And
it is rare. I mean, we live in this world. We live in the young girls golf world in terms of that's what our kids do. That's not, I mean, I tried to help start a golf team at my daughter's old school that she's leaving, and we couldn't find 6 girls to play golf. And it was hard. And so that shit was just a reminder that like, we're in it, we're deep in it. A lot of our world around us is golf. And when you go higher up, it starts to become that. But like in the general population, young girls who play golf, there aren't a ton of them. So if you can make friends and make the social side of it work, they're doing a unique thing that they can relate to with each other.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger picture from our very first episode, we talked about like golf as a community building, and like you want to get your kids playing golf, like find friends and peers for them, and then that'll keep going, you know, all the way through. And like every pro we've come in, you know, who sat in this chair is all of them. I'm like, what makes this tour tolerable? It's the fact that I have friends out here, you know, and so.
I mean, that's it in life. So cannot thank you enough for all of your amazing insights. We're going to support you and root for you along the way. And I love that you mentioned that kids can be proactive and reach out to you and to connect with you via Instagram. And what is the team's Instagram or your
CMSW Golf?
CMSW Golf. Hey, hit that follow them on Instagram, see what they're up to. And if you feel like you're in their wheelhouse and you want to be on their radar, DM that team account. And that gives you a chance to let them know who you are and have them take a look. We're of course Tiger Dads at Instagram. If you're not following us, what are you doing? Any final thoughts from you before we sign off here?
I feel like I have a million more questions, but I don't want to have Keilee sit here with us all day.
Well, now we have the lines are open. We will ask you directly too, and we appreciate you taking the time. And what an awesome journey you've had to get you to this point. I love that you love golf again. And as dads, we love that you like to play with your dad.
Yeah.
Gives us hope.
Keep everyone out there listening. Keep playing with your kids.
Play with your dad.
Hopefully your kids will keep playing with you when they're a little older.
That's it. Yeah. That's the dream. That's the goal. That is the ultimate. And look what it gave you. Golf gave you all that, plus, you know, something you can do with your parents as they get older. So it's beautiful. We love it. All right. I think that's the episode.
Yeah, I think we got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Like and subscribe and tell your friends about it. And we will continue to make mistakes so you don't have to. Tiger Dads.
Straight down the middle.
Okay, so we have a little overtime bonus.
Normally it's your daughter who's running this game.
Normally it would be Emmy sitting here, but
today it's us. A couple extra questions that we want to make sure we get into you. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So a question Emmy would always ask is like, what is your most embarrassing moment on the golf course?
Oh, there's too many.
Oh, geez. Come on
This is
now.
great. Give us.
You could do
we'll
as a
take more than
coach or a
one.
player, either way.
Oh,
We'll definitely take more than one.
let's see. Most embarrassing. So when we were at the national championship in 2021, one of my players was just having a total meltdown. And I kind of just started singing Katy Perry's Fireworks at her quite loudly. And I sometimes don't recognize my volume. And yeah, some other players were playing and I got shushed.
Ooh.
So that's a pretty bad one.
Okay,
I mean,
so were you trying to like snap her out of it, trying to like just change the vibe?
Yeah, I mean,
what was the goal?
because I asked her, I was like, "Do you ever feel like a plastic bag?" And then I just started singing because like I had to get her laughing and trying to like get out of this funk. And
Well,
so
this is almost as embarrassing as Katy Perry in space. Remember when she went to space and everyone's like, why is she in space? And she starts talking about the world and we're like, okay. So I love that. And that's also not a bad thing for us to do as parents if we see our kids spinning out.
So I haven't tried to sing Katy Perry, but I've definitely like been out there where like my daughter's in a tournament and I'm caddying and I can tell the vibe is off and she's in a funk, and I'll try to do goofy things to cheer her up. Usually my daughter's like a real rule follower and she will not swear. And I have a potty mouth, so I will try to convince her to drop an F-bomb. I'm like, hit it back. I'm like, just drop an F-bomb. Yeah, look, I don't care. Like, you won't get in trouble. And she still refuses to, but it usually lightens the
My
mood.
go-to is squeeze my hand as hard as you can and try to break my hand. And I always, the second she starts squeezing before any pressure's there, I'll freak out and be like, what are you doing? That's so hard. I was joking and you're actually trying to do it. And she thinks
so
that's funny. She loves that.
amazing.
All right. What else?
So, how about one as a player?
As a player, yeah.
Oh, the most embarrassing thing I did as a player. Oh, I'm not sure if I can think of one right now. I'm just spinning a little bit.
All right, so I'm going to ask a more serious question because the juniors will appreciate this. The parents are going to want to know. We talked about D3 and recruiting. What is would you say is the biggest difference, or is there one between like a Division I player looking to play at a Big Ten school or a top 20 program, or a player that's looking to play at like a CMS like Division III? Like, is there a scoring difference? Is it just a personality difference? Like, what separates a player looking at those two directions?
I think it's mostly just long-term plans. A lot of those Big Ten players, Power 4 players want to go play professional golf. And a lot of my athletes know this is it for them. And maybe they'll go try it out on the mid-am circuit or try to continue playing amateur tournaments or maybe even make a go at pro golf, but they're really not sure. And so a lot of it is, the difference is mostly just kind of their, how much they want to put into it. And then I also think another big piece for us is distance. So we'll take some of those players that don't hit it as far because, again, we're playing such shorter yardages.
lengths, yeah.
And so those players will really thrive at the Division III level as opposed to, needing to play 6,000, 6,500 yards. And so distance is another big.
Oh, yeah, that's fascinating.
Difference.
I wouldn't even think about that. But yeah, so if you're a really good player, but you're not hitting it 270 off the tee to compete at a higher level, you can be really competitive at a school playing short yardage. That's fascinating.
Love that. Great question.
Yeah.
Anything else from the pool? Did Lionel give you any other questions?
No, that was one of his questions, was about the difference between D1 and D3 players. That's really fascinating. I wouldn't even think about it. So like the scoring maybe is very similar to scoring differentials, just the distance.
Shorter courses.
Yeah, for the top players, the big difference is definitely just the distance and scoring and long-term interest. But I'd say on the team level, the difference between Division I and Division III is that Division III, you're going to have the top players that can also play at the Division I level, but the variance between the 1 and 5 player are going to be very much wider than at the Division I level. So at the Division I level, you'll have most of your players shooting between 70 and 75. At the Division III level, you'll have your top 2 or 3 players at a top institution shooting 73 to 77. And then the range for 4 or 5 players is going to make a difference for who's going to be competing at the highest level at the Division III level. So I like to say that the barrier for entry for being really good is a lot lower at the D3 level. And then learning how to dominate, learning how to play with pressure, learning how to play as a team. Those are all different factors that also make a difference to the differences between the teams. And I also, sorry.
No, I love it. That's fascinating.
I like to say, we tend to recruit a lot against the mid-major schools in Southern California. And I always say, do you want to end your career, your season at the conference championship, or do you want to end your season at the national championship, where we're playing for the same trophy as the March Madness trophy? I mean, I have 4 tiny NCAA trophies, and I get to walk around and be like, hey, this is the same trophy that, I have 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place trophies, not the national championship. But
oh man,
yeah,
that's great.
So, but just the tiny trophy, and the actual trophies are really heavy. You'd be surprised.
That's
So,
so
okay,
cool.
so that's, I was going to ask, sort of like, what's your number one recruiting pitch? So is that it? Sort of like, do you want to be playing for national championships essentially?
Yeah. Do you wanna play for a national championship? Do you wanna go have Molotong, shabu shabu, boba after your rounds? Do you wanna be able to go study abroad? Join clubs, be a part of mentoring groups, network, do all of that good stuff, and then also. I like to, it's so important that my players have fun. So like they're planning to go to Disneyland on Sunday as a team bonding trip. We did Not Scary Farm in the fall. We go to Georgia, we go to Arizona, we rent a house, they go to the pool, they get to hang out together. It's all about the stuff away from the golf course for my kids.
But
I'm sold. I want to go play on your golf team.
That's fantastic. Thank you. A little bonus content. This was great. That it's really interesting to hear your perspective and the differences between, we had Justin from USC on and you on, and it's like, this is a great perspective, and hopefully this is helpful to some parents, because we did have a lot of people ask us like, hey, like this is great perspective from SC. What about like other schools? So
I'm going to add one final thing to your
please.
pitch, to your recruiting pitch. If you want to get serenaded with a Katy Perry song, they're not going to do that at Michigan, even though I love Michigan. They're going to do it at Claremont. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
do you take requests?
Sometimes. Raps are also up for grabs.
I was writing on a show real quick, Kathy Griffin hosting the Salute to the Troops on VH1, and I was backstage and I watched Nicki Minaj make Katy Perry cry, and I didn't like that. So I'm happy that Katy Perry has sort of a comeuppance right here in this episode of Tiger Dads.
All right.
Love
Tiger
it.
Dads, we make mistakes you don't have to. Keilee, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck this season, and we'll talk
We'll be
to you
following
soon.
you.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle.